Adam Pena, welcome to Mania Melancholy. We were just talking about Uray and why it's called like the Switzerland of the Rockies or the Switzerland of America.
Why is it called that?
So I had a French roommate, and he skied the Swiss Alps, and one of the things he said he was surprised about the Rockies is he's like, they're just like these big fucking hills. There are these just massive hills. They're not quite these extreme mountains.
Here? Or
Yeah.
he's saying...
Yeah, about the Front Range, just in general.
He's saying the mountains are just hills.
They're not quite as, these extreme slopes, especially in the Front Range.
Compared to the Alps.
Exactly. And partly because the Rockies, I think I told you, they were formed by basically a plate that went at a shallow angle and basically carved them up. It's why the especially the Front Range looks like a bunch of hills.
Yeah, somebody needs to take this guy to the Appalachians.
Well, I told him go to Uray, because in Uray they had glaciers, and when you have glaciers, they carve the mountains.
Yeah.
So Uray is...
Well, I feel like the Rocky Mountain National Park is like that a little bit, too.
Oh, yeah.
It's dramatic.
And it's
steep.
The peaks are like that. Like the interesting thing about the Rockies is the foothills are much more sedimentary rock, but the peaks are much more granitic because they're from deeper in the earth. And that's why
Is that why that happens?
Yeah, well, most mountains form when there's two ways most mountains form. One of them is like if two continental plates hit and they just like come together and they just smash, and that's how the Himalayas were formed. It's how the Alps were formed. There are these two continental plates because continental plates are granitic, but oceanic plates are basaltic, and so they're more dense. And so when oceanic plates and continental plates come together, the oceanic plates are more dense, so they subduct under the continental plate.
So is that what the Rockies are?
No, that's the interesting thing, because of when that happens, it's why most mountain ranges like the Sierra Nevadas are about 200 miles from the ocean. It's why the Appalachians are like 200 miles from the ocean.
And the Rockies at one point in the north, they do get close to the ocean.
Yes, those are kind of how they kind of the mountain ranges flesh, but the Rockies in North America, especially in the United States, they didn't know how they were formed because there's no plate nearby. They're like, we don't know how these mountains were formed.
Isn't there a fault line?
Nope.
So this is why I thought there was a fault line, because I go to the hot springs down in Salida and places in Crestone. I'm not going to name the places because, well, I just like my privacy. And I don't know how many people listen.
Early to bed, early to rise, fish like hell, make applies.
Let's say in 20 years somebody finds this and says, oh, that guy likes to go there. I want to know. Yeah. Anyway, there's a fault. I'm pretty sure there's a fault line there. That's what all the springs are formed from.
I'm not a geologist, so I don't want to say there's no fault
You know
line.
a lot, though, about this stuff. I can tell.
I had to take a class for college.
So I don't. This shit? That's crazy. You must have studied.
When I find it interesting, like I really found it was interesting about how do the Rockies form, and they actually came up with a theory that they recently confirmed. And they said that how the Rockies formed is most oceanic plates subduct at an angle, but either due to a massive earthquake or for some reason, 60 million years ago when the Rockies were formed, the basaltic plates subducted at a really deep angle. And so what happened is the plate traveled under the continental plate much further than normal.
I've heard that.
And basically what happened is there was just this flat land where like Colorado and the Rockies were, and it was just pushed up. It's why if you're traveling along the Front Range of Colorado, if you're like going to Golden or something like that, it literally looks like the mountains were pushed up. Like Red Rocks is even at like angles like that. It's because they literally were. And it's also why the foothills are very sedimentary, but the peaks, like you said, Long's Peak or Rocky Mountain National Park are like these grand rocky huge mountains. And so the Rockies are because of the Rockies formed like that, that's how you got the Colorado Plateau. And it's one of the reasons the West is a geological marvel of the world.
Really?
Well, think about it. If you look at
there's the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
There's some other shit.
There's Moab. There's Zion.
Yeah. There's all those dope-ass slot canyons, but that's just from water, I think.
Yeah, I mean, but the reason those were formed was because
Tons of sick canyons.
the Rockies too. Like the
Yeah.
Rockies provided those
Yeah.
streams, places to go.
Tons of sick canyons, dude.
Tons. I mean, have you ever?
Gunnison. There's
yeah,
the Black
Black-
Canyon of the Gunnison.
Oh shit.
Dude, we got to fly over the one in Canyon City too. The Gulch. What's
The
that called?
Gulch?
What the fuck is that one called in Canyon City? Royal Gulch.
Oh yeah.
That's
Because you were
dope.
stationed out there for firefighting, right?
Yeah, that was nice. Yeah, Royal Gulch. There was so many other things down there that were just, what a beautiful place.
I mean, and
Huh.
there's so many. One of the things I say to people, especially people love to travel, and it's very nice, but a lot of people say they can't afford to travel.
Yeah.
I tell people like that,
Who says that?
but even if you can't, say
People with kids.
people with kids,
That's tough.
but even if you have kids, or say if you just can't afford to travel, or maybe you're a little nervous, you don't
can
want to take a plane.
Yeah.
I say there are so many places especially in the Western U.S. So
Yeah.
many parks.
Dude, it's more expensive to travel in the U.S. than it is to go international. I promise.
Oh yeah, I know, but like I find
Just for the people who make that excuse, it's like, dude, I know people who are dead broke who are somehow traveling. I've met them.
yeah.
When I'm traveling, I'm like, how are you traveling? You have no money.
Some people put it all on their credit card, which is just crazy.
You could do that.
There was a guy.
I'd say that's better than not traveling. Because you just learn so much traveling.
Yeah, I think I was super lucky. Like I said, did I tell you I went to like a school where we didn't do
Yeah.
sports?
Yeah.
And so we got to travel everywhere. So
Yeah, it's
from a
fucking
young
sick.
age, I was exposed to a lot of cultures. I just had my dad over here a couple weeks ago. We were planning out our Japan trip.
Oh, yeah, you're going there soon.
Yeah, finally. It's been 8 years. I now speak the
Nice.
language, so I get to go back and have some fun.
Nice. That'd be awesome, dude. Have fun. Enjoy it.
I'm super excited because
I was, you're not single anymore though, so that's gonna be tough.
we'll see. I'm not trying to put any pressure on the relationship or this trip. I'm just gonna go have a good time. Hi. But I do think that I'm spoiled in this way. I should realize how lucky I am because going to Japan especially was so valuable because a lot of people go to Europe and obviously traveling anywhere is very important. But when you travel to a place that is 180 different than your place you live,
Yeah.
it really changed my perspective on so many things and how you look at different cultures.
Yeah.
And I mean, we talked about last time how you went to Ethiopia. I mean,
Yeah. Dude, can we side note? You just made me think of something.
Yes, side note all the way.
So I went in Crestone last week, and I didn't do mushrooms, but my friend did, and we were kind of hanging out there, and I just wanted to like sit with him, and we're in the woods, right, in like dope ass spot, and one of our things we wanted to do is we wanted to talk to aliens while we were down there. And so this guy walks up along this road, and he kind of like, the way he appeared from my view,
So
was
you're
through this mirage of a fire.
You're up in where you said Crestones?
Yeah, there's a national forest area around there. Camping.
Okay. Crestone. So this is San Luis Valley area, and
You're where the aliens are.
So this is so it's like the
Yeah, we're like 15 minutes from the UFO watchtower down there, and like all that.
cool. Just trying to paint a picture.
Yeah, that's a good idea. By the way, Crestone, 50 different religious organizations, churches, temples, whatever, all in one place. Like the only place in the world that's like that. It's a pretty dope place.
And
it's thought to be on like an energetic vertex. But this is like more like metaphysical shit. But this is just like kind of the stuff I'm into. I know like some people
the
probably don't think
Crestones
it's
are
real and it's like fake and all that. But like
they've never the Crestones, especially the Sangre de Cristo, which is that mountain range.
yeah, the blood of Christ. I was thinking, why did they name it that?
Because when the sun rises and it hits the rocks, they turn bright red.
That's interesting. When I woke up literally this morning, I rolled over and I looked out of my little, like, I just cowboy camp, and I just, like, looked out of, like, the little blanket that I had covered my head with, and there's just red, bright red, because the Maroon Bells is just like that.
Yeah,
it's that red, bright red.
It's
colors.
the iron in those rocks is why they call them the blood of Christ. I mean, the Sangres are also. You talk about extreme mountains. I mean, they're special.
Yeah, they're really dope.
So
the natives really, the Utes really respected Blanca. Like that was like a ceremonial mountain.
Not
that
just for the Utes. My friend Davey, I was showing you, for the Navajo. It was one of the Navajo four sacred peaks.
Yeah, I bet a lot of the natives respected that one because it's like kind of out of nowhere. It just kind of rises up. Like I don't know if you've ever driven to Aspen, but like on that road down through Glenwood Springs, Mount Sorpress. It's kind of just like risen up out of and you're like, what the fuck? Same with Pikes Peak.
You can see Blanca from I-25 driving near Walsenburg.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
I think it's the fourth tallest 14er.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's just this huge mountain out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So wait, to go back to where you were with your friend. You were 15 miles from this.
Yeah. We're already on a sidekick. We went to a side combo to a
sidekick
combo.
is what this nickname of this podcast should be.
Yeah, so we're there, and this guy is walking. We're like camped out in this little spot, and this guy's like walking along this trail, and he's kind of there, and like. He sits down and talks to us. And the reason why I thought about this guy is because he just seemed like extraterrestrial, like the rhythm, the way he spoke. He just didn't feel like... It was just interesting talking to him. And so he started talking about the different races, and he talked about how, like, there's, like, different alien species.
The Greys?
Well, there's... but, like, there's... the Greys, the Greens, all that. But, like, there's, like, different alien species... and competing groups, this is what he was saying, that have like vested interests in specific races, like specific genetics. Like this is what he believes. Like, and there's different like to see which one's the best. And I was like, that is wild. That I don't know why I thought of that because you were talking about Japan, and he specifically mentioned like how intelligent Asians are, and I was like, yeah, but that just seems like a cultural thing to me. Like they just seem like really disciplined. Like they're intelligent because they're super disciplined in like the way they approach everything.
Yeah, it's not like the Asians are naturally more intelligent, that they have a culture that emphasizes conscientiousness and discipline.
Yeah,
and so, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Yeah, I do wonder though. Like, I mean, it seems like intelligence is. There is some genetic influence, but it doesn't seem to fall along racial lines.
I don't think so. As a person who spent a lot of time at like high levels of academia, I don't say highest. I wasn't at the highest. I was at CU, which is a big research university with a lot of very smart people.
Yeah.
And intelligence was kind of... It's not a sext. It's everywhere. It's so evenly distributed.
But that academia is a very... even that, though, is like... It's a very... rigid definition of what intelligence is.
I would agree with that. The one thing I would say is there was one class I was in, and there were a lot of classes where, like you said, there's politics, there's a lot of different stuff involved with how people get there, but I was in this one 4,000/5,000 level math class called Coding and Cryptography, run by Dr. Stang. Dr. Stang, she was the best professor I ever had at CU Boulder. I love her. I'm trying to get her on this podcast. I've invited her. She hasn't responded.
Really?
Yeah, she was one of the best teachers I ever had. And in this room, you had like computer science majors, physics majors, and math majors. These are some of the smartest people I've ever been around. And that room was so amazing to be in that room because everyone was smart, but in their own way. Like it wasn't like there's this one definition of smart. Some people had more of like a memorization. Some people maybe had more of a creativity tilt to it. And just being in that room, so many university classes have massive classes, and it was one of the few ones that was small. If I could have more classes like that, I probably would have stayed because it was so much fun to be with these people who are not only like smart, because some smart people are not very interesting, but these people were interesting. You could talk to them about different types of things.
Yeah, because they weren't just book smart.
No.
They were overall intelligent.
There was this one guy I talked to, I worked with in this class, and he was an aerospace engineer. This black guy. And
Nice. Good to mention that.
yeah, it was, we support the black community on this podcast.
Happy Juneteenth.
2 days later.
They don't have to know whenever this comes out. You ruined it.
And he was telling me, like, he wanted to go work for Blue Origin and rocket science. And he could also play the saxophone. And he was showing me some stuff.
Blue Origin. And
Blue Origin is like Jeff Bezos' space company.
Got it. I was wondering.
And just amazing, like, person who could do, like, this. He's showing me the stuff he could do with the saxophone. And it was absolutely phenomenal.
Well, that's natural to them.
Yeah, there's no intelligence doesn't
Happy
fall around
Juneteenth.
racial lines, but music ability definitely does.
Yeah, well, culturally, oppressed groups do make better music.
Can we shift?
That's why Irish make great music. They're like the one group of white people that really do just make like Appalachian folk country is like the best music,
dude.
It's like, holy shit, this is amazing,
dude. Yeah, that is how
oppressed groups make amazing music.
Imagine if that's like what the British were like. They were like, we can make in 200 years the best music of all time. We just need to take all the potatoes from the Irish.
Yeah, dude. The British make the worst. I've never even heard music from Great Britain. I don't even know.
It's basically Ed Sheeran, and then that's about it.
I thought he was Irish. He's got red hair.
Yeah, I mean, but he even has a song. He's like, she played the fiddle in an Irish band, but she fell in love with an Englishman. I mean, like,
oh, interesting.
But because that's like I didn't realize most people don't know that, like, Irish and English are
They
different.
don't like each other.
They really don't like each other.
I mean, they look the exact same, and they talk almost the exact same.
And they're also like intermingled like this.
Yeah, but they have, well, mostly because of religion. If I remember correctly.
Religion is the big thing because Ireland is Catholic,
yeah,
and Northern Ireland, which is part of the UK, is Protestant, but it's also a class thing. Religion was kind of the cover for mainly a class issue.
Interesting.
The British and the English like just spit on the Irish.
How do you know about all this? Did you study it?
I just love history.
Yeah,
I love
That's cool.
I love knowing why people are the way they are.
Yeah,
and
that's fair. Should have studied psychology.
Well, I'm kind of. I like to be a little bit into everything. I wanted to shift to black men's dicks.
Oh yeah, please.
I love the look. No, it was we were on this like genetic thing, and I was talking to my girlfriend last night, and she was, she mentioned that when her girlfriends were talking about guys, she'd never been with a black dude. Thank God.
Yeah. For real, that standard gets reset.
But she was saying that all of her, she played softball, all of her lady friends, they said they'd never had met a black dude with a small dick. And
yeah, I bet they're out there.
I assume they are. But my thing is, I wonder if that is because, how, I mean, this is fucked up, but one of the reasons why we have so many black men in athletic sports is partially because of slavery. Slavery was kind of a fucked up form of, I don't want to say eugenics because it wasn't purposeful, but by subjecting people to those horrific environments, only the strongest survived. And so my question is...
Also, genetically, they were picking the beasts.
Yeah. Oh, obviously. Like
they were picking the countries who had, like, the biggest people.
But even then, like, after hundreds of years of being here, when amongst the ones that would breed, they would select the ones that would then...
That too. Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
It's crazy.
But not new.
Not like, I think it's emphasized because it was America brings it up.
Our country, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can go into the fact about how the Barbary pirates sold white slaves from the coast of Ireland and northern France to the Ottoman Empire for years,
they were
millions.
Just pussies, though, so they didn't get as much, they didn't do as much work.
Well, they were chained to galley slaves where they would, row boats until you die.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it was, and the Ottomans don't talk about it. That's the funny thing.
Huh.
No.
Well, why would they?
Yeah. No. The U.S. is like one of the few countries that acknowledges its bad past. Most countries are like, "What are you talking about? Nothing
it's
happened."
So recent. It's kind of like you better.
But you talk about Asian countries about
Ottoman Empire was 5,000. I don't know my
Ottoman
history.
Empire fell in 1917, so it's
really
yeah.
Oh,
it fell at the end of World War I.
They were doing that slavery thing up until then.
They were
when
selling.
I think Ottoman Empire, I'm like, that had to have been
I mean, the Ottoman
5,000
Empire was
years ago.
around for a long time. It was, but they were doing that from 1600 to 1900.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Who was the main person? Was that Alexander the Great? Who was the Ottoman Empire's main figure?
No. That's Greek. The Ottomans were Muslim. They were a Turkey.
Oh, that's right.
They were from Turkey. So
Yeah,
the Ottomans
that's right.
conquered
Turkey's
Constantinople in 1453, I think. And
now that's Istanbul.
That's why it was renamed.
That city's insane.
When the Ottomans took it over, they renamed Constantinople was the Roman Byzantine name because the Byzantines were just the Romans.
Right. All right, it's all clicking now. Yeah.
But the Ottomans would the Barbary pirates were just this group in the Mediterranean that were from all sorts, and they would go to the coast of Northern Ireland and France, and they would just go to like these small towns and pick people and then sell them.
Why? Because like you pick a certain group of people for a reason. Were they easy targets?
Probably.
Were they really? Yeah.
Probably because Ireland was not like Britain is not going to do anything about that. Because over the course of 300 years, they took 1 million slaves from these places.
1 million?
Yeah. It was one thing like.
What happened to them all? Did they integrate?
Most of them probably just died on these galleys.
Did they breed though? And like, I mean, you can't really tell because everybody's white over there.
They probably didn't breed them because they weren't, unlike in America where they were on like cotton farms and houses and stuff. What they would do is they'd put them on these galley slaves. You'd never see the light of day.
What's a galley slave?
A galley slave would be like
they're rowing the boat.
They're rowing the boats. There's rows in these things, and you are chained to the boat. And all day you just push, and then you just throw you dead sea scraps to just move the ships of the Ottoman Empire. You know, the Mediterranean has tons of trade going through it, and you need someone to push these boats.
That's interesting. Wow, you'd think they'd breed them for all the effort they went to get up there and bring them back down. You just breed the next generation of.
It's probably, but like to breed them,
like you got to run a business right.
Yeah.
If the Ottoman Empire is gonna do slavery, you got to do it right.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's not an area of expertise I'm at, so there's probably areas I'm missing.
Yeah.
But there was it was a very interesting video to talk about how slavery was not like, it wasn't just like a black people thing, white people thing. It was everyone had slaves. It was kind of a
I mean,
fucked
people
up
still
thing.
According to some sources, maybe not as a percentage of all humans that exist in the world, but as a raw number, there's more slaves than there's ever been. Yeah.
It's just,
I think they're like sex slaves. I think there's like a lot of like factory. I don't know what they count as slaves. Like factory workers. They get paid 25 cents an hour. That's technically a slave. I mean,
that's probably not the main thing.
Really getting paid, you know what I mean?
Do you know who Yaomi Park is?
Yeah. The North Korean woman.
She sold her mother and her sister and herself into sex slavery into China to escape North Korea.
It's pretty smart.
And like she tells a fucked up story. The first time, like she's like 13, the first time she ever sees sex is she was about to be raped.
Yeah, I know the story, bro. I listened to that podcast.
And then she her mother was like, I'll take her place. And so like the first,
so
yeah. And you have the fucked up. So I think it's probably Asia is probably an area where that's going down a lot.
Slaves, yeah.
And then
the Philippines,
Northern Africa, probably in places like Libya.
Dude, have you ever seen Trafficked with Maria Van Zeller on National Geographic?
Dude, she's amazing.
Yeah, there's some crazy. Like that's where you learn about a lot of slavery that goes on in the world in general, but just like through drug trade, through human trade, through organ trade, through like human body parts. She goes into different drugs. There's assassinations.
Yeah, the assassinations.
That shit's wild. In South Africa.
That one was also in L.A. Like she went to L.A. for that assassination one. Oh, too early on. Yeah, you see these
That's interesting. I didn't know that. Huh.
You have these underworlds of what goes on, and one of the things I didn't like in some circles where they really try to push, like obviously slavery was terrible in America, it was terrible, but I think one of the reasons I think people like to grab onto some viewpoint and then hammer it home is because if you look at the whole picture, it's just so fucked up. You're like, where does it end and begin? So my theory is that, sorry, I wanted to wrap up going back to the black man's dicks.
Really big.
That they were genetically engineered because of the best men survived. I wonder if that has a correlation with penis size. And so, like...
Well, look at the rest of Africa. I mean, I'm pretty sure all of Africa
That was
has
my
big,
question.
big wieners.
Is it a genetic thing where... is it a thing like people, don't like this, but one of the reasons black people have really flat noses is because a flat nose is much better at absorbing cold, hot, moist air, which in Africa is much more prevalent.
Or just anywhere where you're close to the equator.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
my blood, dude, I got big nostrils because that's where my blood
Spanish,
comes from.
but that's closer in a warmer area. I have a very long, thin nose, and that is because when the air is cold and dry, it is much better at absorbing oxygen.
Yeah, I do terrible in the mountains. It's so hard for me to breathe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, it makes sense.
I mean, there's less
Based
air.
on what you just said, yeah.
And so I wonder if dicks are like that too.
Huh. Like if they have bigger nostrils, then like the dick is better at breathing and better warmer climates.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they keep the foreskin on them too, I hear.
Yeah, they do that in a lot of places now.
Yeah, it's coming back, dude.
Are you circumcised?
Yeah, it's pretty nice, honestly. It's clean, it looks nice. I think circumcised dicks look so weird, but I don't judge if you aren't, like
It probably feels better. Think about it.
I think there is some science on that. I don't know which way it goes, though.
I think, well, it would feel, to me, this is my logic behind it. Your dick has some of the most sensitive nerve endings and in your whole body.
Yeah.
And you are cutting those off.
Yeah.
So it's obviously going to not feel as great.
Yeah, I think that's right, because what I saw was uncircumcised, it's easier to last longer. I think for that reason. I think that's what I'm remembering right now. I might be misremembering.
There was a comic, I can't remember who, had a joke about how women were saying for uncircumcised dick, I don't like all the extra skin. And this comic was like, have you seen a vagina? The extra skin, I think, is the best part.
Oh.
I don't know.
Gross.
I know. Well, sex
a floppy vat. I mean, yeah, love your body, but not my thing.
You don't like a saggy vag?
Nah, man, that's not my style. I mean, love is love. You can get over stuff like that. But I've personally also don't. I've never had sex with somebody with a saggy vag. I think it's probably quite rare. I think it could be genetic, or it could be associated with just taking bad care of yourself. I don't know. I don't want to misspeak on this and stoke someone's rage. But in the off chance that they hear this, the off chance that a woman listens this far into the podcast.
Oh, God. You think the women are listening this far to my podcast when we talked about black dudes and the history of slavery around the world?
Yeah, I don't think women really listen to that many podcasts unless they're true crime.
I don't think so either. It depends. I'm sure you can find some ladies who do have...
I know that's a gross overgeneralization, but...
I listen to so many podcasts, though.
Really?
Just because my job is so boring.
Oh, yeah, you kind of got to.
Yeah, you got to do something to keep your mind going. Tell me about this trip to Africa. Alaska, yeah, you're going up to Cancun.
I sure am.
What's it called, island?
Oh, Ketchikan.
Ketchikan.
I can't remember the name of the island. It's a big island. I'm going up there 2 days. I'm flying up there. Hopefully going to get a job on a commercial fishing boat. But if I don't, I'm just going to... Well, I don't want to put this out there prematurely. We'll see. I have a variety of ideas of how I'm going to get home. But yeah.
A variety of ideas of how you're going to get home.
Yeah, I could just fly home.
You could just fly home.
But I'm not going to say what I think I'm going to do. Like, I'm not going to just say, like, I'm going to do that thing, because then then you get the dopamine hit in your brain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's good.
So I'll tell the story if it happens.
I can imagine
I'm just flying
in 2 weeks we just see a homeless picture of Adam in Ketchikan Island. Like,
well, you got to get off the island first, and then you got to somehow get back.
Yeah.
That's a fun. I feel like that would be fun.
Well, that's sort of an adventure. What was like the motivation to go do this?
Friend of a friend said, I know this guy that does this, and I said, cool, I'd love to learn more about it. And he told me about it, and I said, well, then Might go do that. And might turned into, well, I'm going up there now. Now I just need to get a job, which I guess is pretty hard this time of year to do. I had a pretty good shot at it 2 weeks ago. People were looking at jobs, and I was calling people, and they're like, yeah, I'll hire you if you fly in June 15th. I'm like, I booked my flight for the 24th, so I guess I'm fucked. So, yeah, I'm not really, no expectations. It's
Okay.
like I don't have a job lined up.
Okay.
At the very least, I'm treating it as like a fun trip.
Okay, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, so it'd be sick if I got the job and I could act, and my body holds up, because then, cool, I make like $20K in 2 months. And that is honestly really nice because I can just lay off.
$20K in 2 months?
Yeah, you can make a lot of money. That job is insane. I mean, you're just fucking, dude, you sleep like 4 hours a day and you're catching fish and bringing them into the town. And then you're going out again and doing it again. And then you're resting, taking a day off. And then you go back and just pulling in nets with salmon in them. And you're picking them up off the deck and you're sorting them into the fucking freezer with all the ice on it, and you put them on ice so that they're good. They
Are
don't
they
rot.
alive?
Yeah, they're alive.
So you just freeze
You ever
them?
seen Deadliest Catch? Like how they just
No,
bring
I
the
have
crabs
not.
and they got the pots and the crabs are just. It's just like that, but with nets of fish, and you're just bringing in salmon, and they're just flopping around, and they fucking hit you, and it hurts, and you get on your knees, and you gotta grab the salmon and sort them.
That's
And
like
they're
man
just
work.
sliding off the boat, and the water's just rough, and that's what I've seen. I'd like to experience it personally.
Yeah, that's what. So you said you had a friend who knew about this.
Yep. And then just talk to him on the phone.
I love that you're so. I love when people are like, I'm just gonna go do this thing, and we're gonna see how it goes.
Why not? Why not, man? Travel the world, go do some crazy shit. Live a life that you want to tell your kids.
Yeah, that was me. I mean, that's why I decided not to go to university for a PhD.
That's
do
sick.
stand up and do
That's
this
sick.
podcast. I was
Yeah.
like, I want to.
You went for it.
Yeah, I was like, I'm going for it. You know.
Yeah.
I think you have to.
Exactly.
I think one of the things I was talking to Ralph Great, because I had like a comedy dip after I hit 4 years because I wasn't where I wanted to be
Sure.
in stand up, and I think that Ralph Great, who's an amazing comic in the scene,
He's dope.
He said, don't have expectations. Like, you should just do something because you love it.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I think that was a huge thing right now, especially because the world's so crazy and you don't know what it's going to look like in 5 years.
Yeah.
You have to do what you love because, one, you're young, you'll probably figure it out, and you have to have an adventure. Like, one of the things we said earlier, I think off camera, is how, like, generations just a couple years younger than us aren't, like, going out and doing things.
Yeah, at least it seems as such.
Yeah.
And the researchers who inform our society say that so.
So
I believe
you
them.
know, they never would lie to us
Yeah.
about anything.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
but it is an interesting trend where it's like our worlds feel like they've become bigger because of our phones and technology, but in reality they have become smaller. We have not gone
Yeah.
out and done even like, no, I'm not talking just traveling, but also just going out and doing something you like to do and kind of living life and having the ups and downs.
Yeah.
Like, I went to Austin when I moved to Austin, just like out of the blue. That was really fun. It didn't work out, but like I don't regret it because it didn't go exactly the way I thought it was going to go. I learned so much.
Got to try New York City next time.
That is, I don't know if I could live in New York City. I could afford Austin.
No. I had a comic tell me it's like you got to treat it like a training camp. You just go there for 3 months.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
Really just grind on comedy because people really take comedy seriously in New York City.
Yeah.
I mean, you shouldn't take it too seriously because then you're not going to be funny anymore, and you're just rehearsed and you're like, oh, do my jokes. But like, they like approach it in like they treat it like it's a job. They're like, I'm going to do this thing. And I feel like that's a great environment to be in. I've been, ever since I had this conversation with this guy, because he spent a lot of time in New York City. I've been really thinking about going to New York City.
Oh really?
To do comedy. Yeah, because I couldn't deal with LA just from what I've heard about it.
Yeah.
I've never heard good things about. I've heard good things about New York City.
Yeah, New York. I don't know if I could. I would. I think I'd struggle with a big city. Long
it
term.
would suck.
Long term.
Long term,
But,
yeah, it would suck.
But I want to do.
Blow my brains out.
I want to. If I'm gonna go to New York City, I don't want to go right now. I want to wait until I have a little bit more I feel chops in comedy where I'm like, okay, I can market a bit, and then I think I want to go there, like you said, for a training camp, and just go and.
Yeah, treat it like UFC training camp.
Exactly. For now,
the most bro way to approach it.
Yeah, I think
training camp.
I remember when we both went to Louis C.K. this last beginning of this month.
Yeah. June 2nd.
Yeah, God, fuck June. What?
Really went by.
Yeah, like that. Literally,
that was 20 days ago. Today's the solstice.
Yesterday was the solstice.
Fuck, I thought the 21st was the solstice.
Not always.
Oh, okay.
Yesterday was the solstice.
No wonder the moon was the stars, everything was so powerful. We hugged a tree for like 5 minutes in the woods yesterday. Big ass tree. Like the size of this table circumference. It took 3 of us wrapping our arms around it. Anyway.
What was it?
I believe it was a Douglas fir.
Is it Douglas? Wow, it's a fucking big tree.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
3 people.
No, that's insane.
And I got, not a big arm span. But the other 2 are both 6 foot dudes or taller.
3 of you guys? That's like bigger than this table.
Yeah, it's way big. It was bigger than this table. It was 2 of these tables, dude.
That's insane.
Yeah.
No, I love.
And we were charging around this tree.
Were you jerking it off? Like,
No, we were just love, man. I was like, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of kissed the tree.
Dude, I'll kiss trees.
I was smelling it pretty good, dude. I was giving it a good I was like, oh my god, that's like butterscotch.
What if the tree was like gay?
Dude, that'd be don't be a giant piece of wood.
Oh god, that's amazing. People who don't. It may be hippie woo-woo, but when you're out in nature, like there is an energy to certain places.
It's not hippie woo, it's real.
It's real.
Dude, people who say that, they just never experienced it, so they're just like...
It's people in New York City who have never seen anything
Yeah,
but
bro,
concrete.
it's people like that. Yeah, it is.
Like I love
really
a place I love because my family's all in there. I love Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
It's also like it's not as big as New York City comedy-wise, but it's a big... It's like a city.
Chicago's
city.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chicago's, I think, the 3rd biggest city.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, in this country.
And LA is number 1 or 2, and LA is like weird because it's a sprawl.
Yeah.
When Chicago's like, it's
right there.
Yeah.
It's in your face.
And there was...
New York City's like that, too.
There's something about it where I was like, oh, it was the first time I could be like, oh, I could see myself here for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But if I had to grow up here and I wasn't around nature, like from... You see it here in the West, like...
Mm-hmm.
In my heart belongs to the Western
mm-hmm.
United States. Like I love nature that is... I love when you go up to the mountains, like in Kremlin or a place that's not super, super remote, but it feels that way. Like you're not that far from things, but you are, and at the same time, and you're just hugging a tree.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry I didn't have more defined questions to ask you. We're just fucking shooting the shit.
No, this is perfect, dude.
Yeah.
You don't have to, dude. I way prefer free flow conversation just for the future. Like you can obviously it's your podcast. Ask me defined questions if you want, but dude, I'm way better just riffing.
I like it having when I know I can riff with the person, like with you.
Yeah, we have great conversations.
When I had my dad on, last week, I had defined questions because I didn't want to. Have a purpose. I've done both.
Like, why did you bake me so much zucchini bread instead of banana bread? Most kids get banana bread.
Adam, do you have something you want to share?
No.
I like both. Zucchini bread and banana bread are both.
They're both really good.
Yeah, they're both really good.
I just remembered my grandma would cook both zucchini bread and banana bread, and that was very interesting. I love that. And carrot bread and all the above. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. No, I think when you start a podcast, especially if you go to forums of how to start a podcast, they always talk about how, you can't be Joe Rogan, you have to have a niche and stuff. And if you want to find an audience quickly, I would say that's probably relatively true. Like, you need to have a niche. But I realized, doing both, like, I like having questions for people sometimes, and to have like a constructed conversation was very fun. I had that with Aaron Benjamin. We just talked about cars for a while.
Oh, sick.
That was so much fun. Yeah. And so I liked that, but I also liked just learning about passions. Like, I didn't know anything about cars, and he loved them. And I love that he comes up to me now. He said, "Dude, I had so much fun doing that." Yeah. I'm like, let's do it again. Like, let's just have fun and not worry about the numbers. Yeah. I think even though there's so many podcasts now, and you may never make money doing it, this is when I think I realized kind of the things I mentioned to you with Ralph Great. You have to love what you do, and I love doing this. I love just shooting the shit, having a conversation. This is fun. Who cares if they listen?
Yeah, that's kind of
If you're doing a podcast that you're just like asking all these questions to get views, I mean, that's
it's like fun to think somebody might be listening, so then you're gonna say something just in case somebody did hear it.
Yeah. Yeah, but then at the same time...
But it's also just fun for the person in front of you, like, make them laugh.
I deleted 200 episodes of my podcast.
Whoa.
Most of them were me talking, but I did have quite a few people, and... Wow. They just weren't... Some of them I was just saying crazy shit. Mm-hmm. Some of them I think I was, like... I wasn't buck naked, but I was, like, in my underwear just doing a podcast.
Oh, nice. That's kind of nice.
Yeah. And no one was watching, so I was, like...
You were showing some bush.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went to this hot springs last week, and I had the biggest bush there. That's the one I didn't want to say.
Didn't say it.
I like it, dude. That place feels like a cult, and I want to keep it that way.
I want you to tell me off camera.
Ever listens.
Yeah.
It's the dopest.
You had the biggest bush there. Do you not manscape?
So yeah, you can be naked at this hot springs. It's an all natural hot springs, and I just went for it. And I was just like, yeah, this is who I am. Because it's mostly old men naked. Yeah. There's some ladies naked. And I was like, I'm just going to be naked in the woods.
And you had the biggest bush there?
Dude, by a long shot. Biggest bush by a long... I mean, I haven't shaved in like 2 months. And I usually shave quite a bit. But believe it or not, my partnership, she does not like the shaving.
She doesn't?
First woman I've been with. Yeah, she likes the man. She likes me looking like a real fucking man. She likes it when I look like a fucking man. I'm all hairy and shit.
I'm on the border. I'm not like...
It's also softer.
Oh, yeah.
The pounding is softer.
My mom would tell me stories because my grandmother had like 11 kids.
Whoa,
and back then when women would give birth, they would shave them like clean.
Like goats.
And after you give birth, my mom would be like, she'd be like scratching down there, it'd be itchy. And it's because like the hair provides like cushioning and some like, and basically, do you know why you have hair? It's to prevent skin friction. If you didn't have hair, you would, like, you get terrible rashes. That's why you have skin in places.
I don't have hair.
Yeah, but like between your legs, like, your balls, like there's a lot of skin on skin.
The camera can see, I got no hair. Oh, and between my balls, that's...
Yeah. Think about, like, your armpits, where there's a lot of stuff.
I stopped shaving that hair a long time ago.
I one time shaved it clean just to be like, what is it like? And I fucking hated it. It was prickly. It was, like, pokey.
Armpits?
Yeah, it was just like, I'll just be like, what's it like? And I shaved them.
Was that in your, like, experimental gay phase?
No, it was, like, 4 weeks ago.
Damn.
Not 4. It was, like, a year ago.
Okay.
I mainly... So, like, I think I did a lot of things. Like, in college, when I grew out my hair... It gave me perspective on, like, what's it like to have long hair.
Yeah.
It gives you perspective on what's it like to have to...
It's like a little insight into what it is being a woman, you know?
Yeah, like little, like when I was kind of like, was I molested or was I assaulted when I went to this bathhouse? And this man grabbed my balls. Like, I was able, when he did, like, and I think... He had really bad communication skills because
he's autistic or something.
He was just an old man.
Love on the spectrum.
When I told him I'm not gay, he like kind of ran out embarrassed. Like it wasn't like really malicious. And I had control of the situation the whole time.
He was used to being the dom.
Yeah, and I was like, he was like, oh,
he thought you were a twin.
Grabs my dick. He's like, okay, touch mine. I'm like, no. And he's like, what are you, not gay? I'm like, no. And then he's like, oh, so sorry, and just kind of like scurries out.
Yeah,
and
that's assault, brother.
And
assault.
I was not it actually gave me perspective immediately after because I had control of the situation.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it was uncomfortable, but I wasn't like this is damaging. It gave me so much perspective.
You didn't feel like totally violated.
No, because I was able, when I said stop, I was able to like make him stop. So there was not a place that, and like I kind of gave him a look where if you touch my dick again, I'm gonna hit you really hard.
Yeah.
And
there's the threat of another man to another man.
Yeah. But like I also don't like it didn't like if he was like more assertive and malicious, I would have probably hit him. But he didn't seem like that, and so it gave me perspective about what it's like for a woman when you don't have that control of a situation. I'm like, this would suck. That would suck. And I think sometimes as guys, we don't think about that because you don't have to.
Yeah, for sure. Unless you have a girlfriend that you really love, and then you're like always worrying about it, and you're like, "Fuck, and then you also have to relearn to trust men.
Yeah, it is a weird thing where I'm like, I thought I was gonna be super chill, and I've started to date this girl, and now sometimes I'm much more. Who is this guy?
Interesting.
Like a little
I'm never
more
protective when somebody's talking to her.
No, but like, and not in that way, but like you're more aware. Like a guy's talking to her, and you're not gonna do anything. But it's interesting how your sense goes. Like you're just aware of it happening when before, like if it's a friend of yours, you don't give a shit. Yeah. I mean, you do, but it's not the same.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I'm always like when we're in like a weird place. If she like goes to the bathroom, I'm like, I hope there's not. Like I hope nobody follows her in, or if I like leave her to like go to her car or something, I'm like, and like I can't walk her to her car. It's like I really hope that nothing is out there that's like just waiting to pounce on her, like that's more like I guess that's what I'm saying. But like I also understand what you're saying a little bit, where you're just like aware of her general whereabouts more, where you're like, what's going on? Like, you just want to keep her safe in a way, and not that she can't keep herself safe, but like, there's a threat of the fact that men are generally stronger and bigger,
and some of them are weird.
Some of them are fucking predators. Yeah,
it is interesting because it's like almost a different species among men. When you have like a guy friend of yours who you would trust, like I would trust you around my girlfriend, like take care of her, be so respectful. Like it is so interesting how when you have a guy friend like that, it's like you it's not even a thing. You're like, you're totally comfortable. But with some dudes, like some creepy, weird dudes, it's literally like the opposite. It's like you're watching, it's like a predator. And it's so interesting how you can have two totally different types of dudes you'd trust with your life. You would really like, nothing would happen. And then there's other dudes who are just like looking for every opportunity to.
Yeah. And the key is not generalizing to all men are trash. And same with women and vice versa. But dude, as a man, I found it very difficult in the last like 2 years to like, especially after, traveling to South America with Haley was fucking insane. But like,
did you go to Bolivia?
Not Bolivia. Went to pretty much every other country there though, and like just like the men, you're just like, God, you guys are fucking disgusting. And then you have to like, and then hey man, no disrespect, I come from Latino culture, so I've seen it firsthand. I don't want to say like from my family, but like from that and the people adjacent to them. And I've also observed Latino culture in Denver. I've observed Latino culture in Mexico, Ecuador, Colombia. And I've observed white culture in the country. And so I don't want to just single out Latinos, but there's this type of guy who just is so predatory, and they're just like on the prowl. Like they're just looking. And there's a higher propensity of that in Latino culture because of machismo and whatever. You got to be a man and all this stuff. And it's not really, addressed because Latinos are an oppressed group, but it's certainly a problem.
That is an interesting point out where like you do have, also not generalizing to all Latino men. There's
not all. No. That's what I'm trying to say is that you got to get over the fact they're not all bad.
I'm just trying to like clarify because I know you're not saying that.
Yeah.
But in that culture, there are weird dudes in every culture.
So many though.
But I think what you said there is the scrutiny of like towards white men is such that like, oh, we don't want to talk about these groups. I noticed that when I would talk about like, I know a lot about Asian cultures, and when I would critique them, they like, you can't say that. I'm like, yeah, but it's not even a critique. It's just also true. It's interesting when I've gotten in arguments with people and I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And they realize that they don't, and they just kind of get this short circuit because they want to have this simple world where white people are bad and everyone else is this protected, lovely class when we're all human and there's all good and bad. And it's weird how I don't even have to picture the type of guy you're talking about in Latino culture, the kind of
Rico Suave.
Yeah. So you went down, was this recent?
Yeah, that was 2 years ago. Almost 3 now. 2.5-ish, 3. But yeah, when we went together, and it was just like really, she didn't feel all right being like, when I would leave her. It just depends on the place we were in. She was fine in some places, other places it's like, yeah, it's just like here in Colorado. Like, there's places where, as a woman, maybe you don't want to walk there alone at night. Yeah, that's everywhere. But it felt, maybe because we were traveling, it was her first time traveling. It's my first time traveling with her. Or it was just like, well, it wasn't her first time traveling, but it was her first time traveling to, like, third world countries like that. Like, just hosteling it up, backpacking it. And that's really jarring, man. It's really jarring for anybody who's ever done that when you first start.
Yeah.
And so it was just really uncomfortable for both of us, I think. Me looking after her, just being around these like weird dudes who, you just don't feel safe around. And, man, I've seen that also in like country bars in Manhattan, Kansas, where Kansas State University is, right? I would visit some friends there and I'd go to these country bars and like, yeah, dude, there's dudes who are trying to, you could tell they're just trying to get girls drunk so they can take them home. And there's like these white country dudes. There's that vibe too. And like, you see it at the Grizzly Rose sometimes. You can just see it. If you like look close enough, you can observe the behaviors from the distance.
You feel it too. Like when people say vibes, like the vibe of a person like that gives off.
Yeah.
I think that's why girls trust their feelings more, where they can kind of tell if a guy comes up to you. And when I was going out to go learn how to talk to girls, I noticed that oftentimes I would really like to talk to girls who were maybe in relationships, often because they'd be willing to talk to you. And it was interesting how often when I would go and ask girls, I'm a pretty nice, bubbly guy, and I have a lot of energy. Girls were mostly really cool. Like they would call you. They could tell that like, yeah, you were maybe there to get their number, but you weren't like. You were also there in the conversation. It wasn't you're just not here to like take them home.
Yeah, for sure.
And that is it's such an interesting thing about how I think men a lot of time. I don't think we do it I think we trust our gut more than we say we do, but that is such a feeling. Like there's some.
Yeah.
I remember I went to a party when I was in college, and I walked in, and as soon as I walked in, I'm like, there is something in my bones that is telling me to get the fuck out of here, and I left. And I found out at that party, the cops came, everyone got MIPs. This guy cut his hand so bad, he cut an artery, like it was atrocious.
At the party, everyone got MIPs?
Yeah.
Jeez, I never saw it once with a college party.
This was in CU. A couple people did, but and I heard this from other people. I don't know how true it is.
Yeah.
But there's a
that's
vibe.
Crazy. I mean, I'm not questioning it. I'm just like, whoa, that's nuts.
And this was like
cracking down.
It's one of the parts of CU. Frat guys would have that energy. Like,
yeah, man.
Frat culture was interesting. I had Patrick Trujillo on, who's awesome. And he told me about his experience in a frat up at Greeley. And it was really constructive. They had to do community service. Like, they helped each other grow.
That's the good side of it. Yeah.
Yes. And I was like, I almost didn't believe him, because fraternities in at CU are run by really, really rich boys.
Dude, yeah.
And they're predatory. I mean, as a guy, they say, oh, if you want to come in, you have to bring 10 girls. And even then, they don't let you in, which is like, okay.
You got to get the ratio right, bro. Sometimes they have orgies.
I knew a guy who brought like 23 girls, every girl he knew. And they're like, the girls can come. You can't. And to me, I'd go.
You'd have your own fuck party with yourself and 23 girls. What are you going to a party for?
Yeah, exactly. I went to go party with the Mexicans. I couldn't understand what they were saying, but they let me in their party.
That's funny.
It's so dumb. It's like this. It's an elitist thing that I was like, why are you're also a 21-year-old who, or 20-year-old who doesn't know what's happening.
Yeah.
You just because your parents have money and you're in this frat doesn't make you this like, I mean, some frat to join, they would like cut the webbing in your feet and put tobacco in it. Like,
Yeah, dude, that's when I realized, like, those guys aren't, like, they're not, like, I don't want to say all of them, but, like, because there's some good ones in there, obviously, but, like, those guys just don't have, like, they just don't care. Like, I remember I had one fraternity at CSU. I was friends with, like, most of the guys in there, and one of them invited me to come into the party, but then, like, one of the leaders or something was like, he can't be in here, he's not part of this. And I was like, dude, it's just like at a house. It's not even in your fraternity building because you're not allowed. I don't think most campuses are allowed to even have parties in their fraternity built houses anymore. Like, it was just at some person's house adjacent, and he was like, yeah, you can't come in. And I was like, that's fine, but like it's just weird that you have, 20 dudes in there that I'm friends with, and you're just saying I can't because I'm not part of your weird group. Like, it's just like a weird
tribal.
Yeah, it is weird. And also frat culture, I was going to say this before too, and I forgot to say it. I think this is why they have issues with women, because there's specific cultures that just inherently have like a lack of respect for women. And that's the machismo. There's like that Hispanic culture that definitely has that.
What does machismo mean? Is it just
it's like the Hispanic version of toxic masculinity.
Oh, really?
But it's like, yeah, but it's like, there's like levels to what people say toxic masculinity is. There's like the level of like a woke toxic masculinity where they're like just men in general are bad and that's just pure ignorance. And then there's the toxic masculinity of like, yeah, these cultures just seriously, they encourage men to not talk about their feelings. They encourage men to, just I wouldn't say they directly encourage men, but they in many ways indirectly encourage men to just disrespect women and not treat them as equals. And Hispanic culture is one of those. Frat culture is another one of those. Dare I say, many Muslim Middle Eastern cultures really embody that from what I've seen.
Can I say something too? There is a lot of Asian culture, East Asian cultures are pretty similar.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never been to Asia. I've been to Ethiopia.
It's a little different. Like, I don't want to say it's nuanced in its own way, but like I would say in the not talking about your feelings department. And
that makes sense.
And
that makes total sense.
And like you said, there's spectrums in every culture. There's not, but
yeah, there's obviously good and bad and everything in between.
Exactly. But I think that there is an interesting thing about how you said these cultures, like you said, because I do believe one of the things I don't like about the term toxic masculinity is I believe it exists, but people's definition of it is so vague. Like
there's not an established good definition of it.
You can tell when someone doesn't have general respect for women, or versus like, I would say like is like where I had a lot of anger and maybe some of that came out towards women. I don't think I was ever like in a really very detrimental way, but I would say I have emotions that I learned how to handle. Luckily, I learned how to handle those emotions and I worked through them. But as someone who was in that role, I really didn't like when you'd get clumped in with all that because you're like, hey, I'm trying, but I'm going through it. I'm a human like everybody else. And sometimes I make mistakes. And I think you gotta, to me, how I differentiate, it's really easy for me to be friends with someone who's trying. I think trajectory is more important than position. So what I mean is, say if you're at the bottom of the barrel, but you're trying to get better, versus say you're really high up, but you are just doing everything to make things worse. I can be friends with the person at the bottom because you're trying. Like if someone's trying to be better, it's so much easier to like want to be friends with them because they're trying to go somewhere better. But if you're not, I've had to cut off friends because I'm like, I can't be friends with you, and not just men. Like I've had to cut off. I had a very close female friend I had to cut off because I'm like, I can't be around you because I have really tried to help you support yourself get better, and you are staying in the same place. And it infests me. It puts me in a bad mood, and I just don't like being around it. It's bad vibes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you feel about that, but I do think that a lot of times those cultures of masculinity get men trapped in these, like, it's this way. It doesn't allow for maybe some flexibility with how they see the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is very childish, because you're having to fit this world into this one square you're seeing, rather than seeing the whole complex view of how the world actually is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you covered that well. Yeah. Good shit.
Well, do we want to wrap it up here? I mean, it's been an hour.
We can keep talking. I didn't mean to say that.
No,
as like
no.
End the
Oh,
conversation.
we got 10 minutes
but-
here.
Cool.
We got 10 minutes.
Keep talking.
Hell yeah.
I just thought you covered it so well. I had nothing else to say about it, man.
I appreciate it. I think because I think there is a fun thing about, like, my current. I don't like to divulge too much about the person I'm dating, but the person I'm currently dating didn't grow up with any men, had a sister, and it is interesting seeing what happens without that. Not in a bad way, but I think growing up with a sister was super helpful for me, and my sister growing up with brothers was very helpful for her, because there is a side of masculinity and boyhood that is very fun, adventurous, and playful that needs to be that's awesome about masculinity.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the fact that I think that idea of always going out and adventuring and going to new places you have is a segment of that.
Yeah. There's also a segment I'm learning where you do need to settle down and ground yourself, and it can be a little bit of a boyish, like, oh, like, I just got to keep going on adventures. I need more chaos, and I keep feeding that. So, yeah, there's two sides of it. Yeah, there's two sides of it.
That's my favorite symbol of all time.
Yeah.
Because I think it's nothing's ever black and white. It's a bit of both. And the idea of yin and yang is that the optimal place to be is right in the middle of chaos and order, where order is where it's in its proper place so that it's not tyrannical, and chaos is in its proper place so that you're confronting that chaos in a way that is appropriate, but not so much so where it devours everything in its path.
Yeah, it's not just total entropy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that kind of middle ground was such a amazing idea.
Have you studied Taoist philosophy much?
Not like in depth, but I've kind of studied people like Confucius and stuff that is adjacent to it. It's very, from what I can understand, what I know, which is very little, I will admit, is that it is a lot about being, like letting go and letting things be the way they are at. Like, there was a book I saw that was about, like, Winnie the Pooh, and it was Taoist philosophy through that lens. And they're like, Piglet worries, and Eeyore is mourns, and the owl pontificates.
That's
but
pretty funny that they broke it down to a child's level.
Pooh just is.
Huh.
And that's kind of the thing. I think those kind of philosophies of Taoism and Buddhist, they kind of have some similar type of. They run down similar paths, not quite the exact same, obviously, but.
Yeah.
Have you?
Eastern philosophies tend to blend together. Well, I definitely don't want to say I'm an expert in it, but yeah, I've spent quite a bit of time.
Oh, fuck! Tell me
reading
about it.
I just love the Tao Te Ching. Have you ever read it?
No, I have not.
It's a quick read. You could read it tonight
Oh shit!
in like an hour and a half, maybe two. I don't know, depending on how
Tao Te
fast
Ching?
you like to read.
Yeah.
I recommend soaking it in, probably two. But yeah, probably the dopest spiritual text ever written, in my personal opinion, because it's so concise, it's so simple, it's so easy to follow. There's not a lot of fat. It's not like a bunch of, it's just wisdom direct from the source.
A lot of the Eastern sources are like that. So, like, Miyamoto Musashi's Book of Five Rings is like that.
That's a pretty short one.
And then you have you ever read Unfettered Mind by Takuan Soho?
No.
He was a contemporary.
I've heard of it, actually. I've heard of it, yeah.
Contemporary of Miyamoto Musashi.
Okay.
And very concise. Like, I read it all in one go, but it's kind of like when you read Marcus Aurelius. It's like You really kind of
dense.
want to. It's dense, and so you kind of want to read it in like bits. You want to read a bit and then really think
slowly.
about it.
Yeah.
I read it all during my last hunting trip, and I'm like, this was too much, and you don't process.
Yeah. Yeah, man. All those spiritual texts are like that. I don't know what the Buddhist text is, but I know the Hindu text is the Bhagavad Gita, and that one's only like an 8-hour audiobook. But then like the Bible, dude, the Bible's massive. I don't know how many hour audiobook it is, but it's like 1,000 something pages. That's a long book, and there's just a bunch of random stuff in there.
Yeah.
I
Well, have you ever read the book? I think I have it down there. Misquoting Jesus: The Story of Who Changed the Bible and Why. It's a really, really good book by Bernard something. I can't remember his last name.
Mm-hmm.
But it talks about how it's not even in a malicious way. Like, so much of the Bible was copied by scribes, and a lot of these scribes didn't know how to read.
Mm-hmm.
So they would write, it was just what they thought the thing looked like.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the text and how they were passed down and lost in translation is a big part about it. So when people say, it's the untouched word of God, I mean, it's...
Yeah, right. It was only written by humans.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean, like, I loved the breakdown of it. Like, that's like, I think people get very binary with the Bible, especially people who've had bad experiences in Christianity.
Yeah,
I've been
pretty binary with it.
I've been one of them, so I understand it. But I think that a lot of times when you have a bad experience, you want to throw it all under the rug and say this thing was all bullshit. And but obviously not. Like, one of the things I tell people is, like, one of the things about the Bible, it's been around for 2,000 years. Anything that's been around for 2,000 years, that has some value because that says something.
Yeah.
What do you know that's been around for 2,000 years?
Yeah.
And so...
The Eiffel Tower. Pyramids.
Pyramids have been around for that long. It's...
I get it.
Yeah, like, there's something there, but when... You're right, it's so, like...
It got diluted. That's the problem.
Oh, yeah. Like, and one of the things I love is when people will, like, take... the Bible and both sides. Well, in Leviticus it says that gay people should be thrown in the jail and where they can all have sex together.
Yeah.
But I hate both sides that take, like, it to literally mean the word of God.
Sure.
And then it's also like, okay, maybe can we just, like, say Leviticus was kind of fucked up when he wrote that?
There's obviously wisdom in it. I think my problem is neither of those things. My problem with it, it's totally different. My problem with it is that are you familiar with the various reforms, like every however many years the Catholic Church decides to do a reform? I don't know what they call it, but like the most recent one was when they turned Latin masses into English only, or sorry, not English only, but whatever language that place speaks that you're in, the priests also will speak the language of that mass to them, of their local language. So now masses aren't just done in Latin anymore. They're done in English. They're done in Spanish. They're done in Vietnamese. They're done. You get the point.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. They do these reforms every however many years. Well, back in 340, between 340 360 AD, the Roman Empire fell. The Catholic Church had seen this coming. I think around 400 AD, the Roman Empire officially completely fell. So
it's basically it's like 385 is given a date, but like it's vague. It's in that last half of that 5th century. Yeah.
So in let's see, 300 AD, they used Constantine, converted him to Roman Catholicism. Roman Catholicism now.
Other way around. That. Constantine used Catholicism to reunite the empire.
Exactly. That's what I'm.
Constantine was actually a pretty good emperor.
He used Catholicism and part of using it to reunite the Roman Empire, they removed about 22 very important texts from. They're called the apocryphal texts now, from the Bible, and they changed a lot of the wording in it. So the original wording was centered around, you can find the Christ within yourself. And now the wording is centered around you have to go to an authority to find the Christ because that serves the empire.
So I think I'm not. I didn't know that, and I don't know, but I do know that a big part about do you know the whole thing with like Protestants and Catholics?
Yeah, pretty familiar.
Yeah. It's for those
Martin's and Luther.
Yes, but
Yeah.
Martin Luther he was German, and the thing is back then all texts were in Latin, so most people couldn't read it. So the church priest would translate it. Well, Martin Luther took that and used the printing press and translated it from Latin into German, which everyone spoke.
Yeah.
And in that, there was a part that said it was about tithings, and it was always translated as it was something similar. You have to give your tithings to the church. And so the church took that as like, you give money to the church. Yeah. But when Martin Luther translated, he said, that's not what it says. It says you have to give to God what you think is like, it was a personal statement about.
It's not flat 10%.
Yeah, exactly. It was very personal about you give to God what you can.
Yeah.
And that was a big part of the Protestant Reformation was like, because you have to also understand that there was a Jimmy Carr made this point. Priests before the Black, yes, he's super smart.
Yeah,
priests before the Black Plague. You have to understand this is in like medieval Europe. The priest was the smartest person you have ever seen. He could read. He could read.
Yeah.
After the Black Plague, and that's who the priests generally were. The smartest people went to go to the priesthood. After the Black Plague, they have a theory that so many priests were killed in the Black Plague because they preside over death ceremonies. So they were dying constantly because they were in contact with these bodies. That the priesthood was corrupted with a lot of very unscrupulous people, and that is when the quality of it went down.
After the Black Plague.
Yeah, and that's one way to look at it. You know, there's like you said, there's stuff before that that was a manipulation, but like you said, I think your critique is more at the institutional level when they're using these sacred texts as a way to enrich themselves and the institution versus as using it as a tool to help people be the best version
Story
of
of
themselves.
religion, man. Story of religion.
Same.
Every religion ever. Their aim is not necessarily to decentralize and help you find whatever the truth is, the peace is, the best path for yourself. They are ultimately you serve the group, and there's a spectrum of what a cult is, and on the low end of the spectrum, politics, religion. I mean, politics is moving up there to the higher end of what a cult is. People aren't talking to their families anymore because of this shit. But religion is on the lower end of that spectrum of this is a cult, dude. This is like you're letting somebody else think for yourself.
Have you heard Joe Rogan's bit about what's the difference between a cult and religion?
No, I haven't. What is it?
It's so funny. It's like, so a cult is where one guy has all the power and he fucks everybody and he takes everybody's money and he controls everything. And in religion, that guy's dead.
Yeah.
And that's true. But at the same time, I would say like I've got.
Sorry, I ruined the punchline because I laughed for the punchline.
Yeah.
I have heard that joke.
Yeah. I assume you have. And it was a really good point because I've been to like local parishes where like I'll go with my dad on Easter or something, and like the priests oftentimes are very like Catholic priests,
They're
very
nice.
charismatic.
Yeah, of course
And
they have to be.
Sometimes you don't get a good one, but like oftentimes, he goes there, he tells wisdom. This one we had last time was very like, wasn't as preachy. Like, I mean, he obviously believed this stuff, but very trying to like bring everybody together, kind of no matter where they came from.
Yeah.
And when I could let go of a little bit of my anger and try not to direct it at the church and just be here, it also helped that at this Catholic mass, there was a black girl.
Oh.
One. There should be a requirement by the Catholic Church that every choir has to have one black person because she came up to sing the homilies and she could hit those fucking notes that you didn't even know existed.
That's why they used her. She was the token.
I believed in God when she was singing. Like, I legitimately did. It was amazing.
Yeah.
She hit those super high notes. I'm like, I like church now.
Yeah. I went to a black Catholic church for the first time in Chicago, all black. And that was not like any Catholic church I've ever been to, except for I hate to say this, but in Ethiopia, I went to a Catholic mass, and it was very similar. It was just singing the whole time. It was a lot of hymns. Everybody was very excited, and there was a lot of just like joy in the air, and you could just feel it. It was not like solemn, like, yes, a white Catholic mass. Like, we're all just singing these ancient Latin hymns. And
I had a joke forever about how, like, do you know what it's like to listen to an over 65 all white choir?
What?
It's the music you listen to when you need encouragement to jump off a bridge. It's so bad, and so little things like that where it was.
That's why they got to use the children's choir. It's better. It's cute. It's cute, even if they suck. It's cute.
Yeah, it is cute. I don't know. It's interesting how things get entangled about that, and how, like, I think religion, like, I've started to kind of view, like, I call it mume, and that's kind of like I'm a very logical thinking person.
Did you say mume?
Mume. It's a Japanese word that means, like, nameless or anonymous.
I thought you said wu-wei.
No. What you mean?
Wu-wei. Wu-wei. Effortless action.
Oh, wu-wei. Oh, no. Mume.
Mume.
It's a Japanese for nameless or anonymous, and I named it after my psychedelic experiences where I encountered a force in those experiences. I don't know if it was God. Alls I know is that thing is greater than me, and that's why I named it Mume, because it was kind of nameless or anonymous. And I have used that in my own. I've used that to describe, like, beauty that's so unfathomable, like the crest stones we see earlier.
Yes.
I'm like, that's Mume to me.
Yes.
And
the
it's
inside of a vagina. It's Mume.
Exactly. It is. And it's ethereal. It's honestly has much more of like an Eastern philosophy where it's not super defined on purpose.
Yeah.
Because to me, and like, what does it do for me? That concept of knowing things are greater than me. Like, I pray to it. I just say things I'm thankful for every day. I just try to say four things.
It's so good that you did that, man.
4 things I'm thankful for every day, and it's amazing what it does for your depression. If you write down or just even think 4 things you're thankful for, it sounds hippie woo woo.
It's not, man.
It's not,
dude. Fuck the people who say it sounds like that.
Well, because I was, but I try to keep an open mind, and I'm like, let me try it. And I noticed it was sometimes just being thankful for me was better than just medication. Sometimes just like an overall effect of. I think it starts to tilt your mind to be more appreciative of what you have rather than what you don't. And I always just say things of like, what did I do today? What I was thankful for? I saw some friends, my family. I had food I really liked.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah,
there's so much to be thankful for in this. People say this crazy world that we're in, and it is crazy. But I think you have to that's even more the reasons you have to find what you're thankful for, especially in America when we have so much to be thankful for. So much.
Yeah, we do.